The reverberations of footsteps in the medical facility's passageway were slightly more rapid than commonplace. April Wilson had been experiencing a disquiet sensation since getting a call from her father. "Miss Wilson, you're radiant today." An older patient complimented her as she moved past the nurse's station, offering a kind smile. April hesitated, reciprocated the smile genuinely, and, sweeping her lengthy brunette locks behind her ear, replied with a gentle, "Take care." Her demeanor reflected the poise of a seasoned nurse, boasting 7 years of expertise. Her understated uniform complemented her slender build, standing at approximately 5'3". Her discreet cosmetics and tidy presentation instilled a feeling of reassurance in patients. Yet, on this particular day, a subtle hint of gloom veiled her typically serene demeanor. "Dad in the break room?" April exhaled deeply, gazing at her phone's screen. It presented a message from her father. "We're convening a family gathering tomorrow. Catherine will be present as well." The mere reference to her sister, absent from her life for 3 years, caused a constriction in her chest. The autumnal foliage, visible from the windows of Mount Auburn Hospital, signaled the advancing season in Cambridge. April's thoughts drifted back to this very time 3 years prior. Her sister, Catherine, stood in stark contrast to her, a statuesque model with vibrant blonde hair, perpetually adorned in designer apparel and elaborate makeup. She perpetually garnered attention. As a high-end real estate agent, she prioritized her connections with affluent individuals, incessantly showcasing her opulent existence on social media platforms. And then there was Michael. The mere thought of her ex-husband's name still triggered a surge of discomfort. A cardiologist on an upward trajectory, he presented an imposing figure, tall and slender with refined features. His attire in costly suits made him an object of admiration among the hospital staff. However, concealed beneath that veneer of charm resided a calculating and overbearing disposition. Their father Joseph, a doctor of gentle demeanor but firm resolve, with his silvering close-cropped hair and warm gaze, had established a notable career as a cardiac surgeon, rescuing numerous lives. He should have been relishing a tranquil retirement, certainly not embroiled in this. April felt a sense of apprehension, pondering the motive for this abrupt family assembly. Since the passing of her cherished mother 3 years ago, the family's dynamics had undergone a profound shift. Her mother had been a benevolent and devoted individual who, despite contending with rheumatoid arthritis, persisted in caring for her family until her final days. Why would her sister, who had neglected their mother's care and usurped April's husband, reappear now? "April, could you assist with phlebotomy on the 4th floor?" A colleague's voice jolted her back to the present. April rose quietly. Her earnest and heartfelt nature, coupled with her empathy for others, were invaluable attributes inherited from her mother. The nocturnal sky, visible from the hospital windows, bore an omen of the impending day. April had initially encountered Michael in Mount Auburn Hospital's dining area 5 years ago during springtime. "Is this seat unoccupied?" he had inquired with a smile, clad in his white coat amidst a bustling lunchtime crowd. That day signified the inception of their narrative. As an emerging star in the cardiology department, Michael enjoyed considerable renown within the hospital. Casual dialogues during breaks and occasional shift overlaps eventually evolved into deliberate encounters, blossoming into a committed relationship. "Shall we have dinner?" was his inaugural invitation to a date. April experienced a degree of nervousness at the upscale Italian restaurant's multi-course meal, but Michael's courteous conduct gradually won her over. On weekends, they would stroll along the Charles River or appreciate art at the Boston Museum. Their courtship flourished seamlessly, observed by envious onlookers. "I've been anticipating someone as genuine as you," he professed during his proposal at a restaurant adjacent to Harvard Square. Outside the window, maple leaves danced in the autumnal breeze. Tears streamed down April's cheeks as he placed the ring on her finger. The nuptials took place in a church, blessed by both families. As April stood in her pristine white wedding gown, her mother beamed with tears in her eyes. Catherine, serving as maid of honor, wore a somewhat subdued smile. Retrospectively, perhaps a calculating element already lurked within that smile. Their newlywed existence resembled the quintessential American dream. April diligently prepared lunchboxes each morning, and they savored brunches together on holidays. The apple pie she learned from her mother became Michael's favorite dessert, the starlit sky they observed during their Cape Cod. Vacations seemed to promise perpetual bliss. However, the halcyon days were fleeting. The initial alterations were inconspicuous. Michael began returning home progressively later, and even on holidays, he would depart for the hospital, citing urgent surgeries. His grievances regarding April's culinary skills gradually emerged. "I wish we could dine at sophisticated establishments like Catherine does. As a nurse, you're unable to maintain pace with my social circle. Catherine possesses superior taste compared to you. Wouldn't you agree?" April persevered through such remarks with desperation. All domestic responsibilities fell upon her, and dining out exclusively entailed costly restaurants. Credit card statements continued to accumulate, yet she endured it all for the sake of love. To exacerbate matters, her mother's condition worsened. Severe rheumatoid arthritis began impeding daily life. Catherine fabricated excuses about being preoccupied with work, leaving the entirety of the caregiving duties to April. "I deeply regret to inform you, but visiting hours have concluded." Even upon hearing this from colleagues at the nursing station, April found herself unable to depart from her mother's room. Position adjustments, feeding assistance. She persisted in supporting her mother, functioning as both a nurse and a daughter, leveraging her professional expertise. "April, staying so late. I apologize." At her mother's feeble voice, April feigned a smile. Juggling work and caregiving proved more arduous than she had anticipated, but her affection for her mother sustained her. Concurrently, Michael's demeanor became increasingly frigid. "Remaining at the hospital again. Pay heed to me occasionally. Why don't you simply entrust the caregiving to a facility?" Such dialogues became commonplace. Then came that fateful day in the hospital parking lot. After working overtime, April was en route to her vehicle when she observed two familiar figures embracing within a luxury car. "My, and Catherine. Oh my, have we been discovered?" Catherine's boisterous laughter pierced the frigid night air. Michael, with a defiant mien, declared, "Well, it's concluded. Let's pursue a divorce." The divorce proceedings were unilateral. Michael demanded substantial alimony, while Catherine incessantly contacted their parents' home, defaming April. Photographs of the pair at lavish restaurants persistently surfaced on social media. "Were you genuinely oblivious? Everyone else was aware. A nondescript woman like you could never satiate Michael." Catherine's words inflicted pain like venomous needles. Subsequently, their mother passed away shortly thereafter. Exhaustion and emotional turmoil had rapidly deteriorated her condition. In her final moments, she whispered a faint, "I'm sorry," to April. It sounded like an apology regarding her sister and Michael. Catherine failed to even attend their mother's funeral. From that day forward, April vacated her family home and commenced residing alone in a modest apartment. It was a tidy, one-room dwelling, selected for its proximity to the hospital. Gazing out the window, the evening sky was tinged with crimson. 3 years had elapsed since then. The wedding band had long vanished from April's finger. In its stead, her mother's treasured ring now shimmered softly. The Cambridge streetscape intimated the approach of winter. In the taxi en route to her family home, April contemplated the 3-year hiatus. Solitary life in a small apartment, 12-hour shifts at the hospital. Days elapsed in a monotonous rhythm. Infrequently, she would catch glimpses of her sister and brother-in-law's ostentatious lifestyle on social media. Gatherings, opulent apartments, European vacations, displays of new foreign automobiles. These appeared to be deliberately posted for April's observation. "That family appears so joyous. What an ideal couple." April would discreetly scroll past the myriad comments. Communication with her father was confined to monthly telephone calls and birthday visits. It was his suggestion. Concentrate on mending your heart for the present. April had maintained her distance, adhering to those words. Then came that singular phone call. I desire to convene a family gathering. I've contacted Catherine. Those words caused April's heart to leap. The sister couple's response was prompt. Catherine immediately secured a reservation at a luxury hotel, and Michael commenced contacting legal representatives. They appeared to be anticipating a discourse regarding inheritance. The taxi halted in front of the family residence. The Victorian-style dwelling, constructed in the 1920s, retained the same stateliness April recalled. In the garden, enclosed by white fencing, the rose bushes her mother had cultivated were prepared for winter. Her steps toward the entrance felt laden with weight. However, the instant she opened the door, April discerned a discrepancy. The living room had subtly transformed. In her father's cherished study, a new filing cabinet stood. Multiple PDF files were displayed on the computer screen. On the table lay meticulously arranged stacks of documents. Among them, she could discern invoices from her mother's care facility. I'm pleased you could attend. Turning around, she encountered her father. His salt and pepper hair and warm gaze were familiar, but his expression bore a certain resoluteness. In actuality, her father had been discreetly accumulating evidence for these past 3 years: hospital surveillance camera recordings, unpaid notices from the care facility, photocopies of her mother's diary, records of Catherine's callous text messages, and numerous social media posts showcasing the couple's extravagant existence. Today is the day to unveil everything, her father stated quietly. The doorbell chimed. The sound of costly high heels reverberated in the hallway. Then, 2 familiar voices. Still unattached. Hey, homely, you haven't altered? April's body quivered slightly, but her father's expression remained steadfast. The Wilson family living room still preserved its grandeur. Family photographs adorned the walls, and her mother's favored classical music played. Bach's Air on the G-string, her most cherished composition. The aroma of coffee subtly permeated the space. The two, who had ensconced themselves on the large sofa, behaved as if they owned the residence. Catherine crossed her legs, slightly swaying her expensive high heels. Michael surveyed the room with an ostensibly bored demeanor. April sat in a solitary chair, quietly averting her gaze. In her simple attire, she projected the same unassuming presence as 3 years prior. However, her eyes now held a different kind of fortitude. Father, I've sought counsel with legal advisors regarding the inheritance. Catherine commenced, her voice dripping with saccharine sweetness. The word inheritance caused April's eyebrows to furrow slightly. Indeed, we've been contemplating the future. Michael attempted to interject. Their father quietly rose. Impeccable timing. I have something significant to impart. His voice carried a core of firmness within its customary gentleness. The evening light, illuminating his silvering hair, accentuated his dignity. At that moment, the couple's expressions shifted. Catherine's smug smile congealed. Michael's haughty expression exhibited indications of disquiet. They exchanged glances involuntarily. Initially, let's address my condition. His words transmuted the room's ambiance. I have terminal pancreatic cancer. A profound silence descended. 3 months to live. Tears welled up in April's eyes. However, this was a reality she had already been apprised of. Meanwhile, Catherine and Michael's expressions underwent drastic transformations: shock, agitation, and calculation. Michael's medical acumen instantly comprehended the severity of the ailment. Father, we shall provide your care, Catherine hastily proffered, endeavoring to ameliorate the situation. Her lips quivered slightly beneath her flawless makeup. Indeed, I can furnish the optimal treatment. Michael attempted to underscore his standing as a physician. However, their father quietly raised his hand, interrupting their pronouncements. That will be unnecessary. He slowly ambled to his study. From a drawer, he retrieved an envelope, a substantial envelope bearing a notary's seal. I desire you to peruse this. The sound of the envelope being unsealed reverberated with unusual loudness. "This is—" Catherine's voice faltered. "These are records of your mother's care expenditures." Their father commenced elucidating calmly. "Catherine, records of care facility payments you misappropriated. Michael, falsified medical certificates." One by one, pieces of evidence were presented on the table. Surveillance camera recordings, unpaid notices from the care facility, photocopies of their mother's diary, Catherine's callous text messages, social media post records. "That's not the entirety," their father stated, rotating the computer screen toward them. "I also possess records from the day Mother passed away." The screen displayed surveillance camera footage from the hospital, conclusive evidence of their whereabouts when their mother was in critical condition. The color drained from Catherine's face. Cold perspiration began to manifest on Michael's forehead. "You abandoned Mother to perish." Their father's voice was subdued and weighty, and subsequently luxuriated with that money. Outside the window, the snowfall intensified. As the fireplace flames flickered, their father continued presenting evidence, one item at a time. His movements retained the meticulousness honed during his years as a cardiac surgeon. "Let's commence with the care expense records initially." Spread out were stacks of invoices from Mount Auburn Care Facility, 3 years of records arranged chronologically. "Catherine, you received $5,000 monthly for mother's care expenditures." Their father's voice remained impeccably composed. However, no payments were actually remitted. Unpaid notices from the care facility were disclosed, one after another. Red-lettered payment demands, records of facility staff apprehensions, all demonstrating that their mother had not received the requisite care. "This must be an error." Catherine's voice quivered. Her flawless makeup was beginning to disintegrate. "It's no error," their father declared, opening the computer screen. "These are your bank account records." The screen showcased evidence of care expenditures being diverted to alternative uses, luxury brand acquisition history, overseas travel payments, automobile loans, traces of their opulent lifestyle documented as data. Their father's gaze shifted to his former son-in-law. "Michael, you were complicit in this." Subsequently displayed were hospital records, spurious medical certificates authored by Michael, records understating their mother's condition, reports underestimating care requirements. "As a physician, Michael's words trailed off. Professional pride versus exposed malfeasance. His expression contorted in the dichotomy. And this is the conclusive evidence. What their father retrieved was a diary, their mother's final days documented in her own handwriting. "Today I attempted to contact Catherine again, but was rebuffed. I cannot further burden April." As their mother's words were recited, tears streamed from April's eyes. "I consulted Michael, but he wouldn't heed. The anguish in my heart surpasses my physical suffering." Catherine's makeup was now completely ruined, costly mascara streaking down her cheeks. "There's more." Next showcased was hospital surveillance camera footage. On the day their mother was in critical condition, Catherine and Michael were reveling at a luxury restaurant. The timestamp mercilessly documented the time. "Do you recall what transpired that day?" Their father's voice conveyed emotion for the first instance. "Mother awaited both of you until the very end." April's memory harkened back to that day. The sterile white hospital room, their mother's feeble respiration, and her unfulfilled final yearning. "But we had work." Catherine's words no longer even qualified as justifications. "Work?" Their father quietly unveiled the social media records. "Observe this post." The screen exhibited Catherine's post from that day, experiencing the most splendid night ever. Michael's face turned ashen. Their father retrieved the final envelope. "This is my will." A substantial document bearing a notary's seal. Its contents petrified the couple's expressions. "All assets will be bequeathed to April." The room's atmosphere thickened. "And I've established stipulations for both of you." Their father slowly rose. "An apology at Mother's gravesite, complete restitution of misappropriated care expenditures, and—" His words paused momentarily. The funds I had allocated for my treatment will all be donated. What? Catherine arose, her designer handbag plummeting to the floor. That's unlawful. We possess inheritance entitlements. You believe you possess such entitlements? Their father's gaze pierced incisively. Entitlements for those who abandon mother to perish? Michael could no longer conceal his panicked demeanor. His standing as a physician, his social credibility, everything was on the verge of disintegration. We have legal counsel. Legally, this. Their father responded dispassionately. All evidence is already stored in multiple locations, with legal representatives and prosecuting attorneys. The room's atmosphere froze. You have two alternatives: acquiesce to the stipulations or. The remainder remained unspoken. Outside, the snowfall persisted heavily. The balmy winter days once shared as a family now resembled remote recollections. Their mother's cherished Bach composition quietly signaled its conclusion. 1 year later, April had relocated to her father's residence and embarked on a new chapter. In the garden, the roses were commencing to bud, and the flowers their mother had adored were once again brimming with vibrant life. Miss Wilson, congratulations on your elevation to head nurse. Her standing at Mount Auburn Hospital had steadily ascended. With 7 years of expertise and unwavering commitment to her vocation, April had been promoted to head nurse. She was profoundly trusted by her staff, and patient gratitude was boundless. Your dedicated care, back then, facilitated my recovery, Miss Wilson. Whenever she encountered such sentiments, April was reminded of her mother. The image of her mother, who embodied both tenderness and fortitude, had molded her identity. The final 3 months with her father became irreplaceable time. The daily nursing was not effortless. Dedicated care subsequent to completing work, preparing meals, administering medications. However, each moment was imbued with profound affection. April, shall we peruse the album? One tranquil afternoon, her father opened an antiquated album, uttering those words. Her youthful father and mother, little Catherine and April, the beach at Cape Cod they frequented on vacation, family photographs in front of the Christmas tree, joyous memories encapsulated within each page. You are our pride, mine and your mother's. Those were her father's final words. On a serene spring morning, bathed in gentle illumination filtering through the window, he passed away peacefully. In his hand he clasped a photograph of their mother. Meanwhile, her sister and brother-in-law's lives had undergone a dramatic metamorphosis. They defaulted on their luxury apartment mortgage and could no longer sustain their extravagant lifestyle. Michael's reputation at the hospital plummeted, and, unable to endure his colleagues' frigid gazes, he was compelled to transfer to a modest clinic in the countryside. The ostentatious posts vanished from Catherine's social media. No more designer brand tags, no more European vacation photographs. Her real estate sales dwindled, and her social connections dissipated, one by one. Their relationship also veered toward disintegration. Mutual recriminations, shifting of responsibility. Ultimately, they commenced residing separately. It's entirely your culpability. You're the one who squandered funds. The final time April encountered them was at their mother's gravesite. Adhering to the will's stipulations, they arrived to tender an apology, having completely forfeited their former arrogance. April discreetly observed their figures. She no longer harbored animosity or resentment. She solely perceived life's irony and the profundity of karma. Now, April stands in her family home's garden. The fragrance of blossoming roses wafts on the spring zephyr. She reclines on her father's favored bench, basking in the gentle afternoon sunlight. On her hand, her mother's treasured ring gleams. Planting nascent flowers is a means of giving form to her contemplations of her mother. Tending the garden signifies preserving family legacy. Culinary endeavors signify inheriting her mother's affection. In these modest quotidian acts, she discovered genuine healing. Dad, Mom, I'm content. April's subdued voice reverberates in the spring garden. Thanks to both of you, I can live resolutely. Please continue to watch over me. Birdsong gently responds. Newly sprouted blossoms sway in the breeze. Past rancor and animosity had metamorphosed into tranquil fortitude. The past was no longer an encumbrance. It was an invaluable experience that fostered her maturation. Her mother's favored Bach composition, Air on the G string, emanates from within the dwelling. April smiled as she gazed upward at the heavens. The vernal light enveloped her warmly. Equal sign, 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 equals sign 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 Kratko Apisani equals sign 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 equals sign. Okay, here's a YouTube video description based on the text, designed to be intriguing, brief, and from the first-person perspective, without giving away the major plot points. For years, I've kept my distance from my family. A painful betrayal, a broken marriage, and the loss of my mother. It all felt like too much to bear. I buried myself in my work as a nurse, trying to forget the lavish lifestyle my sister and ex-husband flaunted online. But then a sudden phone call from my father changed everything. He wanted a family gathering, and he insisted my sister, Catherine, be there. Little did I know, this meeting would unearth secrets I could *never* have imagined, and a reckoning was coming.